Hello everyone. This video is a collection of poems by Edgar Allan Poe. He is widely considered a central figure of Romantic and Gothic literature in the United States and American literature. Poe was born in Boston, Massachusetts on January 19, 1809. He died in Baltimore, Maryland on October 7, 1849, at the age of 40. The circumstances of his death remain a subject of debate and mystery. For Annie by Edgar Allan Poe. Thank heaven, the crisis, the danger is past, and the lingering illness is over at last. And the fever called living is conquered at last. Sadly, I know I am shorn of my strength, and no muscle I move as I lie at full length. But no matter, I feel I am better at length. And I rest so composedly, now in my bed, that any beholder might fancy me dead, might start at beholding me, thinking me dead. The moaning and groaning, the sighing and sobbing, are quieted now with that horrible throbbing at heart. Ah, that horrible, horrible throbbing. The sickness, the nausea, the pitiless pain, have ceased with the fever that maddened my brain, with the fever called living, that burned in my brain, and oh, of all tortures. That torture the worst has abated, the terrible torture of thirst. For the naphthaline river of passion accurst, I have drank of a water that quenches all thirst, of a water that flows with a lullaby sound from a spring but a very few feet underground, from a cavern not very far down underground. And ah, let it never be foolishly said, that my room it is gloomy and narrow my bed. For man never slept in a different bed, and to sleep you must slumber in just such a bed. My tantalized spirit here blandly reposes, forgetting or never regretting its roses, its old agitations of myrtles and roses. For now, while so quietly lying, it fancies a holier odor. About it, of pansies, a rosemary odor commingled with pansies, with rue and the beautiful Puritan pansies. And so it lies happily, bathing in many, a dream of the truth and the beauty of Annie, drowned in a bath. Of the tresses of Annie, she tenderly kissed me, she fondly caressed, and then I fell gently to sleep on her breast, deeply to sleep from the heaven of her breast. When the light was extinguished, she covered me warm, and she prayed to the angels to keep me from harm, to the Queen of the angels to shield me from harm. And I lie so composedly, now in my bed, knowing her love, that you fancy me dead, and I rest so contentedly, now in my bed, with her love at my breast, that you fancy me dead, that you shudder to look at me, thinking me dead. But my heart, it is brighter than all of the many stars in the sky, for it sparkles with Annie. It glows with the light of the love of my Annie, with the thought of the light of the eyes of my Annie. For Annie poem is often considered one of Poe's more romantic and less dark works. In For Annie, Edgar Allan Poe explores themes of grief, memory, and the enduring impact of lost love. The poem's mournful tone, vivid imagery, and rhythmic structure contribute to its emotional power. It serves as a testament to Poe's ability to evoke complex emotions through his poetry, even in works that are less explicitly Gothic or macabre than some of his more famous writings.
Annabel Lee by Edgar Allan Poe. It was many and many a year ago, in a kingdom by the sea, that a maiden there lived, whom you may know by the name of Annabel Lee. And this maiden, she lived with no other thought than to love and be loved by me. I was a child, and she was a child, in this kingdom by the sea. But we loved with a love that was more than love. I and my Annabel Lee, with a love that the winged seraphs of heaven coveted her and me. And this was the reason that, long ago, in this kingdom by the sea, a wind blew out of a cloud, chilling my beautiful Annabel Lee, so that her high-born kinsman came and bore her away from me, to shut her up in a sepulchre in this kingdom by the sea. The angels, not half so happy in heaven, went envying her and me. Yes, that was the reason, as all men know, in this kingdom by the sea, that the wind came out of the cloud by night, chilling and killing my Annabel Lee. But our love it was stronger by far than the love of those who were older than we, of many far wiser than we. And neither the angels in heaven above, nor the demons down under the sea, can ever dissever my soul from the soul of the beautiful Annabel Lee. For the moon never beams without bringing me dreams of the beautiful Annabel Lee. And the stars never rise, but I feel the bright eyes of the beautiful Annabel Lee. And so, all the night tide, I lie down by the side of my darling, my life and my bride, in her sepulchre there by the sea, in her tomb by the sounding sea.
The Bells by Edgar Allan Poe. Hear the sledges with the bells, silver bells. What a world of merriment their melody foretells. How they tinkle, tinkle, tinkle in the icy air of night, while the stars that oversprinkle all the heavens seem to twinkle with a crystalline delight, keeping time, in a sort of runic rhyme to the tin-tin nebulation that so musically wells from the bells, 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 from the jingling and the tinkling of the bells. Hear the mellow wedding bells, golden bells. What a world of happiness their harmony foretells. Through the balmy air of night how they ring out their delight. From the molten golden notes and an in tune, what a liquid ditty floats. To the turtle dove that listens while she gloats on the moon, oh, from out the sounding cells, what a gush of euphony voluminously wells. How it swells, how it dwells on the future, how it tells of the rapture that impels to the swinging and the ringing of the bells, 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 of the bells, 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 to the rhyming and the chiming of the bells. Hear the loud alarum bells, brazen bells. What a tale of terror, now, their turbulency tells. In the startled ear of night how they scream out their affright, too much horrified to speak, they can only shriek, shriek, out of tune. In a clamorous appealing to the mercy of the fire, in a mad expostulation with the deaf and frantic fire, leaping higher, 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 with a desperate desire and a resolute endeavor, now to sit or never, by the side of the pale-faced moon. Oh, the bells, bells, bells! What a tale their terror tells of despair, how they clang and clash and roar. What a horror they outpour on the bosom of the palpitating air. Yet the ear it fully knows, by the twanging and the clanging, how the danger ebbs and flows. Yet the ear distinctly tells, in the jangling and the wrangling, how the danger sinks and swells, by the sinking or the swelling in the anger of the bells, of the bells, of the bells, 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 bells. In the clamor and the clangor of the bells, hear the tolling of the bells, iron bells. What a world of solemn thought their monody compels. In the silence of the night, how we shiver with affright at the melancholy menace of their tone. For every sound that floats from the rust within their throats is a groan. And the people, the people, they that dwell up in the steeple, all alone, and who tolling, 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 in that muffled monotone, feel a glory in so rolling on the human heart a stone. They are neither man nor woman, they are neither brute nor human, they are ghouls, and their king it is who tolls, and he rolls, 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 a paean from the bells, and his merry bosom swells with the paean of the bells, and he dances, and he yells, keeping time, in a sort of runic rhyme, to the paean of the bells, keeping time, in a sort of runic rhyme, to the throbbing of the bells, 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 to the sobbing of the bells, keeping time, as he knells, in a happy runic rhyme, to the rolling of the bells, 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 to the tolling of the bells, 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 to the moaning and the groaning of the bells. The Bells poem was first published in 1849. It is known for its vivid and evocative depiction of the various stages of life and the emotions associated with them, as symbolized by the sound of bells. The poem is divided into 4 parts, each focusing on different types of bells and the feelings they evoke. The poem progresses from the joyful and celebratory sounds of silver bells to the ominous tolling of iron bells, reflecting a descent from happiness to despair. Here is a deeper analysis of each part of the poem. Part 1. Silver Bells. In this section, the poem opens with a joyful and festive mood. The sledges with the bells refer to sleighs or carriages adorned with silver bells that are ringing merrily. The sounds of these bells are associated with happiness and celebration. The repetition of the word tinkle emphasizes the light, cheerful, and delicate nature of the bell's sound. The mention of stars twinkling in the night sky adds to the sense of joy and wonder. The runic rhyme mentioned refers to an ancient mystical form of writing, which further adds to the sense of enchantment. This section represents the youthful and joyous phase of life. Part 2. Golden Bells. This section transitions to the sound of wedding bells, which symbolize love and marriage. The mellow wedding bells create an atmosphere of warmth and happiness. The mention of molten golden notes and liquid ditty suggests that love is like precious gold, and the harmonious sound of the bells is like a beautiful song. The turtle dove listening to the bells represents a sense of peace and contentment. This part of the poem represents the stage of life associated with love and matrimony. Part 3. Brazen Bells. The mood shifts dramatically in this section as the poem describes the alarm bells. These bells create a sense of terror and chaos, symbolizing the challenges and dangers of life. The bells are described as screaming and shrieking, and the stanza is filled with onomatopoeic words that convey a sense of panic and urgency. The reference to the mercy of the fire suggests a fire or disaster that people are desperately trying to escape from. This section represents the hardships and trials of life and the fear they can instill. Part 4. Iron Bells. The final section of the poem presents a somber and melancholic tone. The iron bells toll with a deep and mournful sound, symbolizing death and the end of life. The repetition of the word bells and the use of alliteration in phrases like melancholy menace and groan create a sense of heaviness and sorrow. The people in the steeple are described as neither human nor brute but as ghouls, emphasizing the eerie and otherworldly nature of death. The king of the ghouls tolls the bells, and his actions are described in a surreal and nightmarish manner. This section represents the inevitable and inescapable aspect of death, and the tolling of the iron bells marks the end of life's journey.
Spirits of the Dead by Edgar Allan Poe. Thy soul shall find itself alone. Mid dark thoughts of the gray tombstone, not one of all the crowd, to pry into thine hour of secrecy. Be silent in that solitude which is not loneliness, for then the spirits of the dead who stood in life before thee are again in death around thee. And their will shall then overshadow thee, be still, for the night, though clear, shall frown. And the stars shall look not down from their high thrones in the heaven with light like hope to mortals given. But their red orbs, without beam, to thy weariness shall seem as a burning and a fever, which would cling to thee forever. Now our thoughts thou shalt not banish, now our visions ne'er to vanish. From thy spirit shall they pass. No more, like dewdrop from the grass, the breeze, the breath of God, is still, and the mist upon the hill shadowy, yet unbroken, is a symbol and a token. How it hangs upon the trees, a mystery of mysteries. Spirits of the Dead is a poem by Edgar Allan Poe that delves into themes of death, the supernatural, and the afterlife. The poem's vivid imagery, ambiguity, and supernatural elements contribute to its eerie and enigmatic quality, making it a typical example of Poe's poetic style.
A Dream Within a Dream by Edgar Allan Poe. Take this kiss upon the brow, and, in parting from you now, thus much let me avow. You are not wrong, who deem that my days have been a dream. Yet if hope has flown away in a night, or in a day, in a vision, or in none, is it therefore the less gone? All that we see or seem is but a dream within a dream. I stand amid the roar of a surf-tormented shore, and I hold within my hand grains of the golden sand. How few, yet how they creep through my fingers to the deep, while I weep, while I weep. O God, can I not grasp them with a tighter clasp? O God, can I not save one from the pitiless wave? Is all that we see or seem but a dream within a dream? This poem was first published in 1849 and is often considered one of Poe's most introspective and philosophical works. It explores themes of the passage of time, the fleeting nature of existence, and the uncertainty of reality and dreams. It reflects on the transience of life and the difficulty of holding on to meaningful experiences. The metaphor of grains of sand slipping through their fingers represents the fleeting nature of time and reality. The poem raises questions about the nature of existence and the boundary between dreams and reality, leaving the reader with a sense of uncertainty and melancholy.
The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe. Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered, weak and weary, over many a quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore, while I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as of someone gently rapping at my chamber door. "'Tis some visitor," I muttered, tapping at my chamber door, only this and nothing more. Ah, distinctly, I remember it was in the bleak December, and each separate dying ember wrought its ghost upon the floor. Eagerly I wished the morrow, vainly I had sought to borrow from my book surcease of sorrow, sorrow for the lost Lenore, for the rare and radiant maiden whom the angels name Lenore, nameless here for evermore, and the silken, sad, uncertain rustling of each purple curtain thrilled me, filled me with fantastic terrors never felt before, so that now, to still the beating of my heart, I stood repeating, "'Tis some visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door, some late visitor, entreating entrance at my chamber door. This it is, and nothing more." Presently my soul grew stronger, hesitating then no longer. "Sir," said I, "or madam, truly your forgiveness I implore. But the fact is I was napping, and so gently you came rapping, and so faintly you came tapping at my chamber door, that I scarce was sure I heard you. Here I opened wide the door. Darkness there and nothing more. Deep into that darkness peering, long I stood there wondering, fearing, doubting, dreaming dreams no mortal ever dared to dream before. But the silence was unbroken, and the stillness gave no token, and the only word there spoken was the whispered word. Lenore? This I whispered, and an echo murmured back the word, Lenore. Merely this and nothing more. Back into the chamber turning, all my soul within me burning, soon again I heard a tapping somewhat louder than before. "Surely," said I, "surely that is something at my window lattice. Let me see then what thereat is, and this mystery explore. Let my heart be still a moment, and this mystery explore." 'Tis the wind and nothing more. Open here I flung the shutter, when with many a flirt and flutter, in there stepped a stately raven of the saintly days of yore. Not the least obeisance made he, not a minute stopped or stayed he, but with mien of lord or lady, perched above my chamber door, perched upon a bust of Pallas just above my chamber door, perched and sat and nothing more. Then this ebony bird beguiling my sad fancy into smiling, by the grave and stern decorum of the countenance it wore. Though thy crest be shorn and shaven, thou, I said, art sure no craven, ghastly grim and ancient raven, wandering from the nightly shore. Tell me what thy lordly name is on the night's Plutonian shore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Much I marveled this ungainly fowl to hear discourse so plainly, though its answer little meaning, little relevancy bore, for we cannot help agreeing that no living human being ever yet was blessed with seeing bird above his chamber door. Bird or beast upon the sculptured bust above his chamber door, with such name as nevermore. But the raven, sitting lonely on the placid bust, spoke only that one word, as if his soul in that one word he did outpour. Nothing farther than he uttered, not a feather than he fluttered, till I scarcely more than muttered, other friends have flown before. On the morrow he will leave me, as my hopes have flown before. Then the bird said, nevermore. Startled at the stillness broken by reply so aptly spoken. Doubtless, said I, what it utters is its only stock and store caught from some unhappy master whom unmerciful disaster followed fast, and followed faster till his songs one burden bore. Till the dirges of his hope that melancholy burden bore, of never, nevermore. But the raven still beguiling all my fancy into smiling, straight. I wheeled a cushioned seat in front of bird and bustin door. Then, upon the velvet sinking, I betook myself to linking. Fancy unto fancy, thinking what this ominous bird of yore, what this grim, ungainly, ghastly, gaunt, and ominous bird of yore meant in croaking nevermore. This I sat engaged in guessing, but no syllable expressing to the fowl whose fiery eyes now burned into my bosom's core. This and more I sat divining, with my head at ease reclining. On the cushion's velvet lining that the lamplight gloated o'er, but whose velvet violet lining with the lamplight gloating o'er, she shall press, nevermore. Then, methought, the air grew denser, perfumed from an unseen censer, swung by seraphim whose footfalls tinkled on the tufted floor. Wretch, I cried, thy God hath lent thee, by these angels he hath sent thee respite. Respite and napentha from thy memories of Lenore. Quaff, oh quaff. This kind nepenthe and forget this lost Lenore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still if bird or devil. Whether tempter sent, or whether tempest tossed thee here ashore, desolate yet all undaunted, on this desert land enchanted, on this home by horror haunted, tell me truly, I implore. Is there balm in Gilead? Tell me, I implore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still if bird or devil, by that heaven that bends above us, by that God we both adore, tell this soul with sorrow laden if, within the distant Aden, it shall clasp a sainted maiden whom the angels name Lenore. Clasp a rare and radiant maiden whom the angels name Lenore, quoth the raven, nevermore. Be that word our sign of parting, bird or fiend, I shrieked, upstarting. Get thee back into the tempest and the night's Plutonian shore. Leave no black plume as a token of that lie thy soul hath spoken. Leave my loneliness unbroken. Quit the bust above my door. Take thy beak from out my heart, and take thy form from off my door. Quoth the raven, nevermore. And the raven, never flitting, still is sitting on the pallid bust of Pallas, just above my chamber door, and his eyes have all the seeming of a demon's that is dreaming, and the lamplight o'er him streaming throws his shadow on the floor. And my soul from out that shadow that lies floating on the floor shall be lifted nevermore. One of Edgar Allan Poe's most famous works, this poem tells the story of a man who is visited by a talking raven who only utters the word nevermore. The poem deals with themes such as grief, loss, and madness. Alone by Edgar Allan Poe. From childhood's hour I have not been as others were. I have not seen as others saw. I could not bring my passions from a common spring. From the same source I have not taken my sorrow. I could not awaken my heart to joy at the same tone. And all I loved alone. Then, in my childhood, in the dawn of a most stormy life, was drawn from every depth of good and ill the mystery which binds me still, from the torrent or the fountain, from the red cliff of the mountain, from the sun that round me rolled in its autumn tint of gold, from the lightning in the sky as it passed me flying by, from the thunder and the storm, and the cloud that took the form, when the rest of heaven was blue, of a demon in my view. The poem explores the idea that the speaker has always felt different from others and has experienced life in a unique way, leading to a sense of isolation. This sense of being an outsider is described as something that has been with the speaker since childhood and has been shaped by both positive and negative experiences. The poem conveys a deep sense of introspection and the complex emotions associated with feeling apart from the world. The Sleeper by Edgar Allan Poe. At midnight in the month of June, I stand beneath the mystic moon. An opiate vapor, dewy, dim, exhales from out her golden rim, and softly dripping, drop by drop, upon the quiet mountaintop, steals drowsily and musically into the universal valley. The rosemary nods upon the grave, the lily lolls upon the wave, wrapping the fog about its breast, the ruin moulders into rest. Looking like Lethe, see, the lake, a conscious slumber seems to take, and would not, for the world, awake. All beauty sleeps. And lo, where lies Irene, with her destinies? O lady bright, can it be right? This window open to the night, the wanton airs, from the treetop, laughingly through the lattice drop the bodiless airs, a wizard rout, flit through thy chamber in and out, and wave the curtain canopy so fitfully, so fearfully. Above the closed and fringed lid, neath which thy slumbering soul lies hid, that o'er the floor and down the wall, like ghosts the shadows rise and fall. O lady dear, hast thou no fear? Why and what art thou dreaming here? Sure thou art come o'er far-off seas, a wonder to these garden trees. Strange is thy pallor, strange thy dress, strange above all thy length of tress, and this all solemn silentness. The lady sleeps. O may her sleep, which is enduring, so be deep. Heaven have her in its sacred keep. This chamber changed for one more holy. This bed for one more melancholy. I pray to God that she may lie forever with unopened eye, while the pale sheeted ghosts go by. My love, she sleeps. O may her sleep as it is lasting, so be deep. Soft may the worms about her creep. Far in the forest, dim and old, for her may some tall vault unfold. Some vault that oft has flung its black and winged panels fluttering back, triumphant, o'er the crested palls of her grand family funerals. Some sepulchre, remote, alone, against whose portal she hath thrown, in childhood, many an idle stone, some tomb from out whose sounding door she ne'er shall force an echo more, thrilling to think, poor child of sin. It was the dead who groaned within. The Sleeper poem, like many of Poe's works, explores themes of death, beauty, and the mysterious. The poem's blend of sensuous and morbid imagery, along with its ambiguity and personification of death, adds to its eerie and unsettling quality. It is a fine example of Poe's ability to evoke complex emotions and create a sense of mystery in his poetry. Eldorado by Edgar Allan Poe. Gaily bedight, a gallant knight, in sunshine and in shadow, had journeyed long, singing a song, in search of Eldorado. But he grew old, this knight so bold, and o'er his heart a shadow fell as he found no spot of ground that looked like Eldorado. And, as his strength failed him at length, he met a pilgrim shadow. "Shadow," said he, "where can it be, this land of Eldorado?" "Over the mountains of the moon, down the valley of the shadow. Ride, boldly, ride," the shade replied. "If you seek for Eldorado." Eldorado is a poem that delves into the universal themes of the human pursuit of dreams and happiness, the passage of time, and the futility that can be associated with such pursuits. It uses symbolism and a narrative structure to convey these themes, leaving readers with a sense of reflection and contemplation about the nature of life's journeys and aspirations. The City in the Sea, 1831, by Edgar Allan Poe. Lo, death has reared himself a throne in a strange city lying alone, far down within the dim west, where the good and the bad, and the worst and the best have gone to their eternal rest. There shrines and palaces and towers, time-eaten towers that tremble not, resemble nothing that is ours. Around, by lifting winds forgot, resignedly beneath the sky, the melancholy waters lie. No rays from the holy heaven come down on the long nighttime of that town. But light from out the lurid sea streams up the turrets silently, gleams up the pinnacles far and free, up domes, up spires, up kingly halls, up fanes, up Babylon-like walls, up shadowy, long-forgotten bowers of sculptured ivy and stone flowers. Up many and many a marvelous shrine whose wreathed friezes intertwine the vial, the violet, and the vine. Resignedly beneath the sky, the melancholy waters lie. So blend the turrets and shadows there that all seem pendulous in air, while from a proud tower in the town, death looks gigantically down. There open fanes and gaping graves yawn level with the luminous waves. But not the riches there that lie in each idol's dime and eye. Not the gaily jeweled dead tempt the waters from their bed. For no ripples curl, alas, along that wilderness of glass, no swellings tell that winds may be. Upon some far-off happier sea, no heavings hint that winds have been. On seas less hideously serene, but lo, a stir is in the air. The wave, there is a movement there. As if the towers had thrust aside, in slightly sinking the dull tide, as if their tops had feebly given a void within the filmy heaven. The waves have now a redder glow. The hours are breathing faint and low. And when, amid no earthly moans, down, down that town shall settle hence, hell, rising from 1,000 thrones, shall do it reverence. The City in the Sea, written by Edgar Allan Poe in 1831, is a dark and atmospheric poem that explores themes of death, decay, and the passage of time. The poem is characterized by its eerie and haunting imagery and its portrayal of a city that has succumbed to a sinister fate. The City in the Sea is a poem that reflects Edgar Allan Poe's fascination with death and decay. It presents a vivid and unsettling portrait of a city trapped in a state of eternal decline, with death as its ruling power. The poem's vivid imagery and dark themes contribute to its enduring power and impact.
The Valley of Unrest by Edgar Allan Poe. Once it smiled a silent dell where the people did not dwell. They had gone unto the wars, trusting to the mild-eyed stars, nightly from their azure towers to keep watch above the flowers, in the midst of which all day the red sunlight lazily lay. Now each visitor shall confess the sad valley's restlessness. Nothing there is motionless, nothing save the airs that brood over the magic solitude. Ah, by no wind are stirred those trees that palpitate like the chill seas around the misty Hebrides. Ah, by no wind those clouds are driven that rustle through the unquiet heaven, uneasily, from morn till even, over the violets there that lie in myriad types of the human eye, over the lilies there that wave and weep above a nameless grave. They wave from out their fragrant tops eternal dews come down in drops. They weep. From off their delicate stems, perennial tears descend in gems. The Valley of Unrest poem, Poe paints a picture of a once peaceful and beautiful valley that has become a place of unrest. The poem suggests that the valley was once a serene and quiet place where people no longer reside, having gone off to war. The valley is described as being watched over by the stars at night. However, the valley is now in a state of restlessness. The trees and clouds are not moved by any wind, but seem to shiver like the sea around the misty Hebrides. The violets and lilies that grow there are subject to the unsettling presence of something supernatural or otherworldly, represented by the crescent moon. The poem is evocative of Poe's characteristic themes of melancholy, loss, and the eerie or supernatural. It creates a sense of unease and mystery as the reader is left to contemplate the reasons for the valley's unrest.
The Conqueror Worm by Edgar Allan Poe. Lo, 'tis a gala night within the lonesome latter years. An angel throng, bewinged, bedight in veils, and drowned in tears, sit in a theater to see a play of hopes and fears, while the orchestra breathes fitfully the music of the spheres. Mimes in the form of God on high mutter and mumble low, and hither and thither fly. Mere puppets they, who come and go at bidding of vast formless things that shift the scenery to and fro, flapping from out their condor wings. Invisible woe, that motley drama. Oh, be sure it shall not be forgot, with its phantom chased for evermore, by a crowd that sees it not, through a circle that ever returneth in to the selfsame spot. And much of madness, and more of sin, and horror, the soul of the plot. But see, amid the mimic rout, a crawling shape intrude, a blood-red thing that writhes from out the scenic solitude. It writhes, with mortal pangs. The mimes become its food, and seraphs sob at vermin fangs, in human gore imbued. Out are the lights, out all, and over each quivering form, the curtain, a funeral pall, comes down with the rush of a storm, while the angles, all pallid and wan, uprissing, unveiling, affirm that the play is the tragedy, man, and its hero, the Conqueror Worm. In The Conqueror Worm, Poe presents a bleak view of human existence, portraying life as a tragic and ultimately futile performance that is overseen by malevolent and indifferent forces. The poem suggests that death is the ultimate conqueror, and human existence is marked by suffering, sin, and the inexorable march toward our own mortality. The use of a theater as a metaphor for life emphasizes the idea that human existence is like a theatrical production, with individuals playing their roles but ultimately succumbing to the inevitable end represented by the Conqueror Worm. Dreamland by Edgar Allan Poe. By a route obscure and lonely, haunted by ill angels only, where an eidolon named Night on a black throne reigns upright, I have reached these lands, but newly from an ultimate dim Thule, from a wild, weird clime that lieth sublime, out of space, out of time. Bottomless vales and boundless floods, and chasms and caves and titan woods, with forms that no man can discover, for the dews that drip all over, mountains toppling evermore into seas without a shore, seas that restlessly aspire, surging unto skies of fire, lakes that endlessly outspread, their lone waters, lone and dead, their still waters, still and chilly with the snows of the lolling lily, by the lakes that thus outspread their lone waters, lone and dead, their sad waters, sad and chilly, with the snows of the lolling lily, by the mountains, near the river, murmuring lowly, murmuring ever, by the gray woods, by the swamp, where the toad and the newt encamp, by the dismal tarns and pools, where dwell the ghouls, by each spot the most unholy. In each nook most melancholy, there the traveler meets aghast. Sheeted memories of the past, shrouded forms that start and sigh as they pass the wanderer by. white-robed forms of friends long given in agony to the earth and heaven. For the heart whose woes are legion, 'tis a peaceful, soothing region for the spirit that walks in shadow. 'Tis an Eldorado. But the traveler, traveling through it, dare not openly view it. Never its mysteries are exposed to the weak human eye unclosed. So wills its king, who hath forbid the uplifting of the fringed lid. And thus the sad soul that here passes beholds it but through darkened glasses. By a route obscure and lonely, haunted by ill angels only, where an eidolon, named Night, on a black throne reigns upright, I have wandered home but newly from this ultimate dim Thule. Dreamland poem was first published in 1844. Dreamland is often interpreted as an exploration of the dream world and the eerie, fantastical landscapes of the imagination. The poem's vivid and mysterious imagery and its melancholic tone are characteristic of Poe's work, which frequently delves into themes of death, the afterlife, and the unknown. The Haunted Palace by Edgar Allan Poe. In the greenest of our valleys, by good angels tenanted, once a fair and stately palace, radiant palace reared its head. In the monarch thought's dominion, it stood there. Never seraph spread a pinion over fabric half so fair. Banners yellow, glorious, golden. On its roof did float and flow. All this, was in the olden time long ago. And every gentle air that dallied in that sweet day, along the ramparts plumed and pallid, a winged odor went away. Wanderers in that happy valley through two luminous windows saw spirits moving musically to a lute's well-tuned law, round about a throne where sitting, Porphyrogene, in state his glory well befitting, the ruler of the realm was seen. And all with pearl and ruby glowing was the fair palace door, through which came flowing, and sparkling evermore, a troop of echoes, whose sweet duty was but to sing, in voices of surpassing beauty, the wit and wisdom of their king. But evil things, in robes of sorrow, assailed the monarch's high estate. Ah, let us mourn! For never morrow shall down upon him desolated. And round about his home the glory, that blushed and bloomed, is but a dim remembered story, of the old time entombed, and travelers, now within that valley, through the red-litten windows see vast forms, that move fantastically to a discordant melody, while, like a ghastly rapid river, through the pale door, a hideous throng rush out forever, and laugh, but smile no more. The Haunted Palace is a poem filled with rich and vivid imagery, and it reflects Poe's fascination with the theme of psychological decay and the fragility of the human mind. It serves as a prelude to the dark and tragic events that unfold in The Fall of the House of Usher, where the once beautiful palace becomes a symbol of the family's decline into madness and death. Lenore by Edgar Allan Poe. Ah, broken is the golden bowl, the spirit flown forever. Let the bell toll, a saintly soul floats on the Stygian river. And Guy de Vere, hast thou no tear? Weep now or nevermore. See, on yon drear and rigid bier, low lies thy love, Lenore. Come, let the burial rite be read, the funeral song be sung, an anthem for the queenliest dead that ever died so young, a dirge for her the doubly dead in that she died so young. Wretches, ye loved her for her wealth, and ye hated her for her pride. And when she fell in feeble health, ye blessed her, that she died. How shall the ritual then be read? The requiem how be sung by you? By yours, the evil eye. By yours the slanderous tongue, that did to death the innocents that died, and died so young. Pacavimus, yet rave not thus, but let a Sabbath song go up to God so solemnly the dead may feel no wrong. The sweet Lenore hath gone before, with hope that flew beside, leaving thee wild for the dear child that should have been thy bride. For her, the fair and debonair, that now so lowly lies. The life upon her yellow hair, but not within her eyes. The life still there upon her hair, the death upon her eyes. Avaunt, avaunt! From fiends below the indignant ghost is riven, from hell unto a high estate far up within the heaven, from grief and groan to a golden throne beside the King of Heaven. Let no bell toll then, lest her soul, amid its hallowed mirth, should catch the note as it doth float up from the damned earth. And I, tonight my heart is light. No dirge will I upraise, but waft the angel on her flight with a paean of old days. Lenore poem was first published in 1831 and is one of Poe's earlier works. The poem is often associated with themes of death, mourning, and lost love, which are recurring motifs in Poe's poetry. It's important to note that Edgar Allan Poe's works often explore themes of death, the macabre, and the human psyche. Lenore is just one example of his poetry, and it reflects his signature style and fascination with dark and melancholic subjects. Of Valentine. For her this rhyme is penned, whose luminous eyes, brightly expressive as the twins of Leda, shall find her own sweet name, that nestling lies upon the page, enwrapped from every reader. Search narrowly the lines. They hold a treasure divine, a talisman, an amulet that must be worn at heart. Search well the measure, the words, the syllables. Do not forget the trivialest point, or you may lose your labor. And yet there is in this no Gordian knot, which one might not undo without a saber, if one could merely comprehend the plot. In written upon the leaf, where now are peering, eyes scintillating soul, there lie perdu, three eloquent words oft uttered in the hearing. Of poets by poets, as the name is a poet's too. Its letters, although naturally lying like the night Pinto, Mendez Ferdinando, still form a synonym for truth. Cease trying. You will not read the riddle, though you do the best you can do. To the River by Edgar Allan Poe. Fair river, in thy bright, clear flow of crystal, wandering water, thou art an emblem of the glow of beauty, the unhidden heart, the playful maziness of art in old Alberto's daughter. But when within thy wave she looks, which glistens then and trembles, why then the prettiest of brooks her worshipper resembles. For in my heart, as in thy stream, her image deeply lies, the heart which trembles at the beam of her soul-searching eyes. To the River poem was first published in 1833, and it reflects Poe's fascination with nature, particularly bodies of water. The poem is a tribute to the beauty and power of the river, but also addresses universal themes such as the passage of time, the transience of life, and the inevitability of death. The poem is full of vivid and sensual descriptions that bring the river to life. The poem explores the relationship between nature and humanity, the passage of time, the transience of life, and the inevitability of death. The river is described as a powerful and eternal force that is both beautiful and fearsome, evoking awe and fear in the speaker. Sonnet to Science by Edgar Allan Poe. Science, true daughter of old time thou art, who alterest all things with thy peering eyes. Why preyest thou thus upon the poet's heart, vulture, whose wings are dull realities? How should he love thee? Or how deem thee wise? Who wouldst not leave him in his wandering, to seek for treasure in the jeweled skies, albeit he soared with an undaunted wing? Hast thou not dragged Diana from her car, and driven the Hamadryad from the wood to seek a shelter in some happier star? Hast thou not torn the Naiad from her flood, the elfin from the green grass, and from me, the summer dream beneath the tamarind tree? Sonnet to Science is a poem that reflects his ambivalent attitude toward the advancement of science and technology. In this sonnet, Poe criticizes science for its impact on the imaginative and creative aspects of human life. He personifies science as a vulture that preys upon the poet's heart and accuses it of altering the world in a way that dulls the sense of wonder and imagination. Poe expresses his belief that science disrupts the mythological and fantastical aspects of life, taking away the beauty and mystery of nature and the human imagination. Ulalume by Edgar Allan Poe. The skies they were ashen and sober. The leaves they were crisped and sere. The leaves they were withering and sere. It was night in the lonesome October. Of my most immemorial year. It was hard by the dim lake of Auber, in the misty mid-region of Weir. It was down by the dank tarn of Auber, in the ghoul-haunted woodland of Weir. Here once, through an alley titanic, of Cyprus, I roamed with my soul. Of Cyprus, with Psyche, my soul. These were days when my heart was volcanic. As the scoriac rivers that roll, as the lavas that restlessly roll, their sulphurous currents down Yaanek in the ultimate climes of the pole, that groan as they roll down Mount Yaanek in the realms of the boreal pole. Our talk had been serious and sober, but our thoughts they were palsied and sere. Our memories were treacherous and sere, for we knew not the month was October, and we marked not the night of the year. Ah, night of all nights in the year. We noted not the dim lake of Auber, though once we had journeyed down here. We remembered not the dank tarn of Auber, nor the ghoul-haunted woodland of Weir. And now, as the night was senescent, and star dials pointed to morn. As the star dials hinted of morn. At the end of our path, a liquescent and nebulous luster was born, out of which a miraculous crescent arose with a duplicate horn. Astartes bedimonded crescent, distinct with its duplicate horn. And I said, she is warmer than Dian. She rolls through an ether of sighs. She revels in a region of sighs. She has seen that the tears are not dry on these cheeks, where the worm never dies, and has come past the stars of the lion to point us the path to the skies, to the Lethean peace of the skies. Come up in despite of the lion, to shine on us with her bright eyes. Come up through the lair of the lion, with love in her luminous eyes. But Psyche, uplifting her finger, said, sadly this star I mistrust, her pallor I strangely mistrust. Oh, hasten. Oh, let us not linger. Oh, fly. Let us fly, for we must. In terror she spoke, letting sink her wings till they trailed in the dust. In agony sobbed, letting sink her plumes till they trailed in the dust. Till they sorrowfully trailed in the dust. I replied, this is nothing but dreaming. Let us on by this tremulous light. Let us bathe in this crystalline light. Its sibyllic splendor is beaming with hope and in beauty tonight. See, it flickers up the sky through the night. Ah, we safely may trust to its gleaming, and be sure it will lead us aright. We safely may trust to a gleaming that cannot but guide us aright, since it flickers up to heaven through the night. Thus I pacified Psyche and kissed her, and tempted her out of her gloom, and conquered her scruples in gloom, and we passed to the end of the vista, but were stopped by the door of a tomb. By the door of a legended tomb, and I said, what is written, sweet sister, on the door of this legended tomb? She replied, Ulalume, Ulalume. 'Tis the vault of thy lost Ulalume. Then my heart, it grew ashen and sober, as the leaves that were crisped and sere, as the leaves that were withering and sere, and I cried, it was surely October. On this very night of last year that I journeyed down here, that I brought a dread burden down here. On this night of all nights in the year, oh, what demon has tempted me here? Well, I know now, this dim lake of Auber, this misty mid-region of Weir. Well, I know now, this dank tarn of Auber, in the ghoul-haunted woodland of Weir. Said we then, the two, then. Ah, can it have been that the woodlandish ghouls? The pitiful, the merciful ghouls. to bar up our way and to ban it from the secret that lies in these wolds. From the thing that lies hidden in these wolds. Had drawn up the specter of a planet from the limbo of lunary souls? This sinfully scintillant planet from the hell of the planetary souls? Israfel by Edgar Allan Poe. In heaven a spirit doth dwell, whose heartstrings are a lute. None sing so wildly well as the angel Israfel, and the giddy stars, so legends tell, ceasing their hymns, attend the spell of his voice all mute. Tottering above in her highest noon, the enamored moon blushes with love, while to listen the red levin, with the rapid Pleiads even, which were 7, pauses in heaven. And they say, the starry choir and the other listening things, that Israfel's fire is owing to that lyre by which he sits and sings, the trembling living wire of those unusual strings. But the skies that angel trod, where deep thoughts are a duty, where love's a grown-up God, where the hoary glances are imbued with all the beauty which we worship in a star. Therefore, thou art not wrong, Israfeli, who despisest an unimpassioned song. To thee the laurels belong, best bard, because the wisest. Merrily live and long. The ecstasies above with thy burning measures suit. Thy grief, thy joy, thy hate, thy love, with the fervor of thy lute. Well may the stars be mute. Yes, heaven is thine, but this is a world of sweets and sours. Our flowers are merely flowers, and the shadow of thy perfect bliss is the sunshine of ours. If I could dwell where Israfel hath dwelt, and he where I, he might not sing so wildly well a mortal melody, while a bolder note than this might swell from my lyre within the sky. Romance by Edgar Allan Poe. Romance who loves to nod and sing with drowsy head and folded wing. Among the green leaves as they shake far down within some shadowy lake. To me a painted paroquet hath been most familiar bird, taught me my alphabet to say, to lisp my very earliest word, while in the wildwood I did lie. A child with a most knowing eye, of late eternal condor years. So shake the very heaven on high. With tumult as they thunder by, I have no time for idle cares through gazing on the unquiet sky. And when an hour with calmer wings its down upon my spirit flings, that little time with lyre and rhyme to while away forbidden things, my heart would feel to be a crime unless it trembled with the strings. Fairyland by Edgar Allan Poe. Dim vales and shadowy floods, and cloudy-looking woods, whose forms we can't discover. For the tears that drip all over, huge moons there wax and wane, again, 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 every moment of the night, forever changing places, and they put out the starlight with the breath from their pale faces. About 12 by the moon dial, one more filmy than the rest, a kind which upon trial they have found to be the best. Comes down, still down, and down with its center, on the crown of a mountain's eminence, while its wide circumference in easy drapery falls over hamlets, over halls, wherever they may be. O'er the strange woods, o'er the sea, over spirits on the wing, over every drowsy thing, and buries them up quite in a labyrinth of light. And then how deep, oh deep, is the passion of their sleep. In the morning they arise, and their moony covering is soaring in the skies, with the tempests as they toss, like almost anything, or a yellow albatross. They use that moon no more, for the same end as before, videlicet, a tent, which I think extravagant. Its atomies, however, into a shower dissever, of which those butterflies of earth, who seek the skies, and so come down again, never contented things, have brought a specimen upon their quivering wings. To My Mother by Edgar Allan Poe. Because I feel that in the heavens above, the angels, whispering to one another, can find among their burning terms of love none so devotional as that of mother. Therefore, by that dear name I long have called you, you who are more than mother unto me, and fill my heart of hearts, where death installed you, in setting my Virginia's spirit free. My mother, my own mother, who died early, was but the mother of myself. But you are mother to the one I loved so dearly, and thus are dearer than the mother I knew, by that infinity with which my wife was dearer to my soul than its soul life. To Helen by Edgar Allan Poe. Helen, thy beauty is to me like those Nicean barks of yore, that gently o'er a perfumed sea the weary, wayworn wanderer bore to his own native shore. On desperate seas long wont to roam, thy hyacinth hair, thy classic face, thy naiad airs have brought me home. To the glory that was Greece and the grandeur that was Rome. Lo, in yon brilliant window niche, how statue-like I see thee stand, the agate lamp within thy hand. Ah, Psyche, from the regions which are Holy Land.